Welcome back to the Knife Studio.
Here it is.
My name is Kyle Royer and I'm a master bladesmith.
It looks really cool when you wire wheel it.
Making my first ever sword. So let's embark on this epic edged adventure.
One of the hardest challenges about forging this blade is going to be putting a taper on this blade because it's tapered this way, so I can't just forge it parallel. And then we got to forge a big old massive long 9H tang on there, 9.5, 10H tang. A massive sword. I mean, look at this thing. It goes down to my knees almost. I can see it though, I can feel it. Take it off the paper, rip it off, and just cut a big old slice through the ceiling because it's really long. Here in a couple hours, this thing is going to be forged out, or it's going to be some kind of horrible disaster of a mess. I'm almost getting jittery thinking about it. Kind of exciting. Here it is. Got it all TIG welded up. Got our casing on the sides of it, or the, I don't know what you say, but the broad area. Got our 1/8 inch metal welded on there. It's all encapsulated, so it should be a clean, atmosphere-free forge welding experience. 15 tiles plus the extra big chunks of 1080 at the bottom for forging out the tang. I want to make sure it's going to fit through my forge because I'm going to have to stick it through the back door in order to get this whole thing forge welded. That is not very roomy. Hopefully this thing will fit as I forge it because it's going to get a little wider before we're all said and done here. It's also going to get a little skinnier, which will also help. Can I incorporate the word also any more ways into that sentence? Also as well, too. Also too as well also. Without two also doing it wrong. Open the cap, step in the mud, turn on the propylene, about 35 pounds. Just got the tank filled up yesterday, so won't run out of propane today. Condensation on the gauge, about 85%. It's about as much as they'll fill it up. All right, light it up some. That is tight. We turned off the propane here. Get the old forge lighter out, AKA torch. Turn on the propane extra high for dramatic cinematic effect. Avoid burning face off. Stick the forge lighter in the forge. Adjust the air. This is the lighter of the forge lighter. So put the lighter of the forge lighter away. Propane, air, and then actually propane. The final bit of forge welding, here we go. I'm gonna play it real safe, and I'll probably go back over it lightly 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times, however many times it takes before I'm comfortable with making sure that it forge welded really well. So I'll go ahead and heat it up to forge welding temperature a couple more times and lightly forge the same area before I move on to doing the rest of it. I've got my limiter. I've got some 1/8 inch pieces of 1084 in there. 5 of them, I think. So I've got about a 5/8 of an inch limiter just to make sure I don't forge it too thin. I'll probably end up going a little more than that in the end, or quite a bit more than that. You got to remember there's an 1/8 inch thick layer of mild steel on each side of the billet right now too. You got to take that into account for the final thickness because we don't want that. We don't want that to be in the sword when we're done. I will leave that on here for now though, because it'll just help shield the billet and protect everything. Gotta remember to grind that off before we're done. Or, I mean, after we're done. Boy, oh boy, I sure hope it's forge welding properly. No way to really tell right now. Let's straighten this thing out a little bit. Stick it back in and work that section a couple more times. Well, I got really hot that time. Almost too hot. Turn the forge down a little bit because it's getting pretty hot now that it's been running for a few minutes. Yeah, we've gained 3 inches on it already. Just over 2 inches wide, and it was just under 2 inches when we started, so that's good. Because I wanted the blade to be 2 inches wide at the base. The billet is like sagging a lot when I forge it. I'm planning on taking it real easy on the billet as I go too, because it's a fancy mosaic pattern and I don't want to distort it too much, you know what I mean? A big advantage of having the billet completely encapsulated in metal and weld is that we can just forge weld sections of it at a time without worrying about atmosphere getting in there. If I was just using flux right now, there'd be a really big risk that the transition there from where the metal's hot and cool would get scale and slag and stuff moving inside of there. But since it's all encapsulated in metal, the seams are covered up with weld. It eliminates that risk to almost zero. So that'll help us get the whole thing forge welded since it's too long to do it all at one time in forge. Theoretically, the whole billet should be forge welded up now, unless something went wrong in there. We're up to 28 inches. I don't think I'm gonna have any problem whatsoever getting the length I need out of this thing. Yeah. I need 35 inches for the blade, and then we'll probably need about 3 or 4 inches or so for the tang. Need about 39 inches. It might be tight now that I think about it. We still got to squish 11 inches out of it then. Yeah, I think I'll get it all forged down to 5/8 inch thick. I'll keep forging this area and then I'll probably go to the middle or the end. I'm not going to forge it this way yet at all. And before I forge it this way, I'm going to grind all these welds off here so they don't get squished into the metal. Almost 30 inches, gained about 2 inches out of that. I would like the blade to be a good 2 1/8, maybe 2 1/4 wide at the base, because I know I'll lose a little bit of width as I work on the blade. We're almost at 2 1/8, not quite. I want to start forging the taper into the blade now. But before I do that, I need to grind off the big bits of weld I have on here that were covering up all the tile seams. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to start tapering down the blade now. I've already started on the end. I'm going to start by making the very end of it 1 3/4 of an inch and then taper it out the rest of the way. The end will probably end up being a little under that by the time I'm done though. Pretty much getting the taper by starting at the tip, and I'm going by my sketch over there and measuring a bunch towards the tip. I wanted around 1 3/4, so I put that 1 3/4 shim in there, and then I can add like a 1/8 inch shim and then like a 1/16 inch shim, just forging like a couple inch section. Then I'll take a 1/16 off, forge a little bit more, take a 1/16 off, and kind of using that to help me get a taper going down the blade. Over it one more time to get the right thickness. and then start straightening it out. And I'd like to get it mostly straightened before I forge the tang. And also before I forge the tang, I might have to let it cool. Let it cool and etch the Damascus to see where the Damascus stops. Make sure I forge the tang in the right area. Make sure the blade's long enough. And grind the, I'll have to grind that mild steel casing off the tang area before I forge the tang out, because I don't want that to be forged into the tang. There we go. Full size 36 inches of good usable blade length there after I forged the tang in. I didn't lose much thickness either. I just barely grazed the thickness. It's probably about 40 thousandths thinner, something like that, maybe 60 at the most. But it was, I had it really thick already anyway. It's still a heavy half-inch thick. And remember, we got 2 layers of mild steel on there, so by the time we grind that off, it won't be a half-inch thick anymore. Those were 1/8 layers, so theoretically. Well, not theoretically, as we drew it out, those layers got thinner, so we're still a good heavy 1/4 inch, I'm sure. That's what I want the final blade thickness to be, is about 1/4 inch. I think we got to start straightening this bad boy. I don't know how I'm going to do that, so I guess I'll just start doing it. Exhausted. I don't think we're going to normalize it tonight. I think it's going to take at least a good hour, and we don't even know if this burner is going to work, so I'm probably going to do it tomorrow, although it'd be better to do it in the dark. I might do it in the shop and just wear a respirator.